Could an AI be better than you at League of Legends? Does it know more about the game? Does it know more about the strategy? Does it understand the game at a micro level better than you ever could? Well, fortunately for most of you, ChatGPT is simply a chat tool, but what does it know about climbing in League of Legends? Could it give you all the unlocked answers, the secrets hidden and contained within the realm of knowledge to help you climb more efficiently and better and essentially skyrocket your rank in Season 13? I decided to have a chat with it just to test its knowledge and to see what advice it could come up with that might help you all. Now, I do think it is really interesting to talk about this and to see where we could have an AI revolution with not only guides, but also eventually players. Because the implications of this are obviously quite huge in terms of secondary apps, tertiary apps, coaching mechanisms, and at the end of the day, players. And also if Riot ever decides to, beef up the introduction bots, that could be pretty good as well. You could have like some menacing bots to face. And before I get into the 5 best ways that the AI actually thinks it's best for you to climb in League and how true that might be and how we can actually use it to climb the season, we needed to create a sort of baseline to ensure that everything subsequent, wasn't trash. We have to talk about the fact that it simply cannot access the internet, which means when I asked it which are the best champions, it didn't really come up with the most interesting examples. But its frame of reference basically ends in 2021, so I decided to see what does it think are the best junglers and how would that impact the tips that it gives you. And I think you are going to enjoy the tips, but we first have to look at this. Graves, Nidalee, Olaf, Rek'Sai, Kha'Zix. Now, you could probably say, hey, Rek'Sai's low play rate, but pretty good. Kha'Zix is always good. Graves is always good. But the Nidalee and the Olaf are very much representative of an older meta, and the Olaf being there is kind of like, well, that's probably the gold drinker meta. So I said I don't agree with Olaf. It then said it doesn't have access to the modernized data where it can actually give us an accurate answer. However, it actually responded and gave a justified reason for why it thinks Olaf is very good. It went on to say that in general, Olaf is a strong champion with high damage and good jungle clear speed, and has the ability to excel in extended fights due to his passive, which allows him to gain attack speed as he takes damage. However, it's also true that his ganking potential may not be as strong as some other champions, and he can be vulnerable to counter jungling. Ultimately, the best jungler for a player will depend on their own playstyle and the specific needs of their team. Basically a cop-out at the end, but also a very true statement, and obviously the general assessment of Olaf is true. I also basically said, well, what do you think is the strongest role in League of Legends? And then it responded by saying it's difficult to say definitively which role is the strongest, and they have different, power spikes depending on the game state and situations and the champions being played, and it said all roles are important. Again, a little bit of a cop-out, however, the description of jungle I thought was really interesting. It said the jungle is responsible for clearing camps, ganking lanes, and securing objectives such as the Herald and Dragon. Jungle champions are usually mobile and able to make plays across the map. And that is a very generalistic assessment of jungle, but it ties into everything we talk about. The one thing I think it misses is that your job is also to prevent the enemy jungler from doing the same thing, which is typically my approach when I'm describing the 3 prongs of jungling. To farm and get your own economy and of course secure the objectives as you can to make sure you're ganking and impacting lanes and giving them the best chance of success. And then the third thing is to make sure the other jungler can't do those 2 things, because if you achieve that, then the other 2 things are easier to achieve, and it just kind of feeds itself. And overall, I think obviously not having that data to the internet means though some of that information will be not entirely accurate, but at the same time, those were reasoned responses that justified its choices better than most people will justify their stupid ass builds and champion selections with anecdotal evidence. So the first thing it said is the best way to climb in League of Legends is practice and improvement. The most important factor in climbing is to practice and get better at the game. This can involve playing regularly, analyzing your own play, and learning from more experienced players. That is a final sentence that's really what we're going for here, and you know what? That's absolutely true. It's kind of on the nose, it's a little bit obvious, and you could apply it to anything in life, but at the same time, how many of you actually do this? How many of you play your sets of 5 every single day diligently? A core member of my Discord has been a jungler, went to mid lane, has played top lane. He decided he wanted to get up to D4, and he actually ended up peaking in D2 last year from Platinum, just by doing his 5 sets a day, doing his VOD review, and being disciplined about it. He didn't magically just not play the set of 5 or play a set of 4, go 6, 7, 8 games and go on a streak. He did his sets of 5s permanently. And then in the morning, I like to do it in the morning. You can do it later at night, although it's typically less of an analytical power moment where you actually open up your replays and analyze it, compare it, question it, basically treat it as if you're coaching someone else to get to the rank that you're at. And when you do that, you'll see yourself steadily increase your ranked ability because you are continuously questioning your own ability in reference to an avatar that is just you, but you're taking away that sort of biased personality perspective that you would have if someone else was doing it and you get offended. This way, if you can detach yourself, create that sort of astral reality of yourself playing the game, you're obviously going to have a much more impartial critique of your own skill set. And of course, heading to guides channels such as this one, such as my coaching site that will be coming very soon, Virkayu.gg, or actual challenger junglers who are playing the game frequently on stream, to watch and question what they do, listen to why they make those decisions, if they should impart such knowledge while they play instead of flaming, but you know, you can't always get everything. The second thing it said is master a few champions. It's generally more effective to focus on mastering a few champions rather than trying to be proficient with a large number of them. Choose champions that fit your playstyle and are strong in the current meta. That's obviously, you know, pretty much straightforward, but how many of you actually do this? I've done a lot of OP.GG reviews, so has every other high-elo coach and streamer, and it's the biggest crime of all. You just don't do it. You just sit around playing 25 different champions over the course of 3 weeks and go, why am I not climbing? You know, well, if you go ahead and do some bench press and squats 1 week and then don't do it for the next 3 weeks, is you going to be getting stronger? No, you're not. You're just gonna be doing nothing, plateauing, not even doing anything. It's pointless. You're running around in circles, you're not leaving the maze. Once you've identified your particular playstyle, and you can use the video I've made on that to talk about it, I will link that below. Identify which class identifies best with your playstyle. Now you can narrow down your pool for those that are strongest in the meta, especially if you're looking to learn and climb, you know, organically without trying to run up the hill with no legs and maybe doing handstands like the off-meta homies. But you know, that's your choice. But if the goal is to climb fast and to skyrocket it, that's what it recommends, and that's also what I recommend. The third thing here is to communicate effectively. Good communication is crucial in League of Legends. Make sure to coordinate with your teammates, call out important information, and use in-game communication tools like pings effectively. That's the most important thing here. It doesn't say anything about typing, it just says use the pings, of which we have significantly more now. And at the same time, when it says coordinate with your teammates and call out important information, you can do that using pings. Is it important to type it sometimes? Yes, but ideally you don't actually have to use those things, although I would recommend muting people who, you know, prove to be destructive, which is of course most people, or even you. You are those people because you're self-destructive. You see a jungler on the grump, ping it out. You want to push the wave? Ping it out. If, you know, use it appropriately. You know, EU West, I see you. I'm largely referencing the bait ping, but The fourth thing that it says is to use your resources wisely. And this is a simple point, but it has an in-depth thing we can discuss. In ranked games, every resource is valuable. Make sure to use your gold and experience efficiently and be mindful of how you spend your time. In short, don't spaghetti path. Don't wander around and don't waffle. Every time you leave the base, where are we going and why? Where do we want to end up after we've left to go to that place? If we want to go top lane to do Grump and Wolves, are we looking to end up at the Dragon, or are we looking to end up at the Herald? Are we maybe looking to do a little bit of a Grump Wolves J-Cat to the mid lane and then fall down to the Crab or the Dragon, maybe invade blue Grump, or just gank and dive bottom lane? All of these decisions need to be made as you're leaving the base. You've got 30 seconds where you're just having to think about this and look around the map. If you stayed out a long time and used that extended sequence, that's great, but now we don't have the resources actually spent and realized on ourselves. We might have 3 to 4k in pocket, and a whole enemy team is based and spent, which means our gold lead isn't really a gold lead, and you can end up throwing a lot of fights just by simply not paying attention to that reality. Always be very intentional with how you're playing the game. This can go for junglers, for laners, for any sort of role. Support, same thing. Where are we roaming and why? What's the enemy jungle timer? What's the enemy support roam timer? ADCs? Is your support roaming to match the Leona on the enemy team? Is your support roaming to help your jungler on a Herald because it's a 3v3? Don't auto push and die when the enemy team is not responding to that, because then that's just on you. Can you win your lane and actually roam effectively? I hope so. If you are 3 levels up on the enemy top laner and you have the most gold in the game and they rotate to the bot lane 3 times because they can't fight you, just like we saw on the gameplay channel the other day, and you do nothing about it but push and then die a few times, you've wasted your resources. You have not used your time efficiently. Your gold is irrelevant. You have given shutdowns. Always think about your back timers. Don't overback either. You know, 1,000 gold every time you're backing is too much. You know, you can always stash your resources and use the experience advantage you have as well. And the fifth point here is a little bit of a cheesy one, but I don't think we can deny its fact and truth in this new Skynet ruled universe, although hopefully we're many years away from that. It says stay positive and focused. Tilt or getting angry and frustrated can cause you to make mistakes and play poorly. Try to stay positive and focused even when things aren't going your way. You know what? It's so generic, but it's hilariously true. Everyone is always looking for the easy trick, the easy hack, the cheat code, the cheese play. You know what beats that stuff? Just simple, good old-fashioned hard work, doing everything on this list and keeping your mind in the right place to climb. Knowing that it's not going to happen in 1 week, it's not going to happen in 1 month. You could only gain, say, 500 to 700 LP in a season. I helped someone do that in coaching last year. That basically meant he went from Silver 4 MMR to Plat 4 MMR, Silver 3 to Gold 1. That's huge when 1 season, when you have limited time to play, or you just do dedicated practice and improvement without tilt queuing and frustrating yourself at the lack of you climbing just because you're kind of oversaturating yourself. At the end of the day, these tips to actually climb, it's quite simple. It really is simple, but it's not easy. How easy it is to make $1 million, perhaps easy for someone who's done it, but the rest of us who are trying to grind that out, it's not exactly what we would call easy, but it could be quite simple. Do you want gold? Do you want diamond? Do you want master tier, grandmaster, challenger? Are you willing to invest the time to apply these simple principles to make a habit about it? If you are not, there's no one else to blame. As a fun bonus note, I said, what about duo queue? Does it affect the game? Playing with a duo partner in League can have both benefits and drawbacks. On the one hand, playing with a duo partner can allow you to coordinate with a teammate and potentially improve your chances of winning. It can also be more enjoyable to play with a friend or trusted teammate. This is true. On the other hand, playing with a duo partner can also have some drawbacks. For example, you may be more likely to encounter imbalanced or unbalanced matchups if you are consistently playing with the same partner. Jungle, mid lane duo, bot lane duo, anybody? Additionally, relying on a duo partner can make it more difficult for you to improve individually, as you may become too reliant on your partner to carry or make plays. I think we've all been there. If you're a tanky boy, you're always reliant on the person to play behind you and they're reliant on you to engage, you split them apart, and you got an egg without its yolk. Ultimately, whether or not it's beneficial to play with a duo partner will depend on your individual goals and playstyle. Some players may prefer the increased coordination and communication that comes with playing with a duo partner, while others may prefer the individual challenge of solo queue, and I think it's important that we keep both of those things combined because it does make the world a more interesting place rather than a solo grinding Dark Souls multiplayer madness fest. And to start off for Season 13, I will be hosting another bootcamp with Coach Kybert for laners and junglers and for every single role. Topics on your screen now starts end of January 30th. Basically, we're going to be covering everything in this video in depth related to you, giving you some active examples, some drills, everything to make you a better League of Legends player as a whole, all through a really in-depth 2-week bootcamp from January 30th onward. And additionally, I will be raffling off a $400 coaching package to a lucky winner who subscribes in the first 100 tickets, which means a further 4 hours of coaching directly with me, all free for you after the bootcamp is finished. And overall, the bootcamp is just chocked full of absolute free coaching, free VOD reviews, Q&As. We have 10 different sessions for you from myself and Coach Kybert. We have other challenger coaches on call. Essentially, you're looking at something like 30 coaching sessions for the price of one, all within a community hosted by Gosu Academy. So click the link in the description below, sign up, join the Discord, and I will see you all there to learn everything you need to know about Season 13 jungling and laning so that you can climb to your ranked goals and beyond.